Good to see you guys. Doing good. We had a little adverse weather change here. Went from 78 to 39, and most likely Aqua could be sloppy tomorrow. And but anyway, we're in Gulfstream, and the sun will be out, and most likely in hot weather. So I'm looking forward to the Gulfstream.
We'll get to the weather in a minute. Just want to now introduce somebody who's taking on a new role. He's taking the new role of West Coast handicapper. He's our normal host and our resident Sharpie, Rich Sharp. How are you, Rich? And how does it feel to be in the other chair for a change?
Sure. It's like being on there, sort of looking glass. I'm looking through here. And I'm like, wow, it's a whole new world over here, being the analyst position rather than being the host. So looking forward to it. And thanks guys, because we're picking out Gulfstream Park, which, as you guys know, during this winter, I spent a lot of time at.
Yeah, obviously. And before we get started and before we get to the particulars of the show, I wanted to ask both of you, and Rich just alluded to it. As handicappers who look at Gulfstream, if not every day, just about every day, you guys know the human connections fairly well. And I wanted to ask if you could give name an under the radar trainer or jockey who you've become a fan of at the Gulfstream meet or has outperformed your expectations. And I want to caution for you guys, Chad Brown, Todd Pletcher, and your Ortiz brothers are not under the radar. So, Rich, kick us off. You're the guy who is there just about every day. Give us a name that we should know.
If I could, I'll give you a couple of names here with that. So, somebody, if you're going to look at Gulfstream Park, and like Joe said, we're not going to talk about the big names, the guys who are going to be at the Derby every year. I really enjoy David Fox. He sends a lot of starters to the gate there in Gulfstream Park. He's one of their big time trainers and like that. But the gentleman knows horses, and he's a very good connection. If you are looking for somebody who is really just off the radar, and what I like to look at sometimes is possibly a trainer for us that maybe in a few years we're going to be talking about who's going to be our next Chad Brown, who might be somebody along those lines that in a couple of years we'll talk about. And this is the guy who I think has got the backwards name, and his name is Safi Joseph Jr. And he's from Barbados. He's under 30 years old, or he might just barely be 30 years old. Does not have a big barn. Is very good in the claiming ranks. Did very good in the claiming crown this year. I think he won 3 races on claiming crown day. So Safi Joseph Jr. down there at Gulfstream Park. And one more I'll give you is if you're looking for an up-and-coming jockey, right behind, I would actually put him right behind Evan Rahman, who is the best apprentice jockey in the country. And that's Abby Medina, has very calm hands, and he's a good young gate jockey, which, as Joe and Ray know, I'm a big fan of the gate jockey. So over to you, Ray.
Well, Gulfstream, I know I have a friend of mine that bowled with Paul Pompa, Jerry McLennan, who runs Paul Pompa Stables. He uses Carlo Vascarella, I'm botching up his name, I'm sorry, Vaccarella or something like that. And he uses him a lot in Gulfstream, and they do pretty well. And and also Antonio Sano, I become a fan of him with Gunavera, and he's been a local trainer there for many years, and I become a fan of him also. And the jockeys, well, Tyler Gaffone always sticks out in my mind because he always seems to beat me in some race, and he's having a tremendous meet. And one day he'll be I would say he can probably go to one of the high circuits one day and do very well also. So those are my the highlights of Gulfstream. And also, Zayas too. Zayas, he's a good winning jockey. He might be struggling now because the big boys are there, but when they go away, he dominates Gulfstream.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned. Yeah, Gaffleone is one, especially based on what we saw last week with the horse that we actually liked a little bit, Darn That Parker. Instead of sending the lead, sat off the lead and got the horse home at 9-1. He's never going to attract at Gulfstream's championship meeting the money that Castellano, Velasquez, and the Ortiz brothers get, and even Luis Saez. He's probably maybe the 6th best jockey in the room, but like Ray was saying, if he goes somewhere else, he might be the best jockey in that room, depending on where, of course, he's going. And yeah, I agree with you, Ray. He's a name that we're going to be hearing about on a big circuit at some point. Hopefully he'll move his tack to New York or somewhere like that, and maybe even Monmouth Park this summer. If he decides to do that, he could probably dominate there. But Paco Lopez is still pretty good at Monmouth, and of course Joe Bravo. So don't get me wrong. He'll have competition wherever he goes, but he's definitely made a niche for himself. Okay, so a brief weather update. As Ray said, we're at Gulfstream Park, South Florida, but it's not going to be the sunny and hot day that you would think. According to my lookup of the weather for about 20 minutes ago, there's a 40% chance of rain in the morning tomorrow. They don't expect it to last much past noon, but obviously there'll be some moisture in the track. And South Florida's weather is always unpredictable. It could always last a little bit longer, and heck, who knows, it may not even rain at all. But at least the forecast is calling for 40% rain, so factor that into your handicapping. And our focus tonight, obviously, is the late pick 4, races 10 through 13, approximate post time, and they use that term at Gulfstream Park very loosely. Post time for 10 is 4:33 Pacific, 4:33 Eastern, and 1:33 Pacific. So, gentlemen, I'm going to steal your line, Rich. The gates are locked and loaded, and it's pick 4 post time.
Let's do it.
All right, the opening leg is for. Joe. I'm sorry?
Pop the gate, Joe.
Okay, let's go. Opening leg is for 3-year-old maiden special weights attempting to navigate 7 furlongs out of the chute on the main track at Gulfstream. Morning line favorite is Ruler of the Nile. He's a high-priced purchase from the Ocala Breeder sale in 2017. He's 3-1 in the morning line. Is trained by Todd Pletcher, and is ridden by Pletcher's go-to rider, Johnny Velasquez. At that sale, he was the 5th most expensive 2-year-old. Rich, do you think he takes any steps towards justifying that purchase price in this heat? And more importantly, does he win today?
This is a tough call, Joe. We got 13 starters in a Gulfstream maiden race, and this is just a little bit tough to accept what's going to be what I would imagine is going to be the morning line post time favorite. We're looking at Ruler of the Nile. He's 3-1 on the morning line right now. Ray and you and I were having a text message little battle going back and forth this week, so we'll see who gets closest to what the actual morning line actually is, or what he goes off at. I think I finally finished up at somewhere around 9 to 5, figuring that Velasquez and the Fletcher combination and that $1 million price tag is just going to affect how everybody is. So the horse that got Pioneer of the Nile on the top. The Dam is by Heavenly Vision, so I'm going to be listening up to our formulator expert to hear about what that horse has got to offer for us. The works are Pletcher-like, and they are consistent, a little speedier than the one that we were out knocking last week. And so Ruler of the Nile did make it onto my ticket, of course, because I'm not going to toss out a top Pletcher horse, but was not my top choice. And I actually sent a picture to Joe and Ray with the race start, and they can actually see little arrows going back and forth. That's how undecided I was. And I was going back and forth between 2 horses who were right inside of him, either the 4 or the 5. And in the end, I even have myself confused. I actually ended up on the 4, and there's that man, Tyler Gaffleone, right there. So this is the Miker Maker Tyler Gaffleone combination. It's Scat Daddy on the top, and it's Zapatant, which is a ghost zapper dam down there on the bottom. Scat Daddy hits 15% with his first timers, and Michael Maker hits 12% with his, and I'll show you the stats on the 5. We're similar, but just a little bit less than that. You're getting Tyler Gaffleone. They're about 20% together, Maker and Gaffleone, when they connect. And you can see that Palm Meadows had a nice workout on February the 17th at 47. And as that's some other workouts, and again, very consistent. So I went ahead and put the Scat Daddy on top. I've got the 4, and you'll see there all those same numbers. The first-time starter for Shug McGahee here is 11%. There's actually another Shug McGahee horse in the finale. I would wonder if Bailout has been working in the same company with the other first-time starter that we see from McGahee coming up with a later race. This one has a better pedigree on the bottom side. The Dam has 4 winners from 6 starters. There's 3 stake winners in there, so this is called Hidden Reserve. And again, I'll be listening up to what Joe's got to say about that one. And you've got Jose Ortiz and Shug McGahee. Small sample size, and as with everything, Jose Ortiz are hitting 33% together. So I've got all 3 of those on the top line from myself. I've got 4, 5, 7, so I couldn't toss them. If I was going to go deep, and I am going to go deep in this race, I've also got the 1, which is King Zachary. I think I've also got the 8 in there, which is Candy Graham, and there's the 9, which is Pendleton. It's a wide open race as far as I'm concerned. I do not believe the $1 million horse is just a standout, but I do go 3 deep. 4, or 457. I have to modify my scratch sheet. Actually, I have never actually been the first person on these lines. I'm always over on the third side. Ray, over to you. Who do you like in the opening race?
Oh man, this is the time you want to pull out the keynote machine because wow, this is some race. I gotta tell you, maiden race. You got a few triple crown eligibles here. Late starting 3-year-olds, and of those who have ran, I don't see much speed. So the first timers could be on the pace and kind of a factor here. But I did go with a horse with a little experience. With the number 1, King Zachary. He ran a decent third to Principe Guilherme, who's on the Derby Trail at Fairgrounds. He ran well in the few of those races there. Last race didn't do too well, but he should come back for Louisiana Derby. But anyway, he lost by 7 to him, but the horse won by 6, so he only was like a length behind the other horses. Finished a good third, had an outside post, and just wide and flattened out. But with the Curlins, the trainer Royal Romans gave him some time from November, and maybe got a little stronger, and some good workouts at Gulfstream, minute 3 breezing, a couple minutes 48 too. So the horse with experience and number 1 post should get a decent trip. The rail could always be funky sometimes if you don't break well. But that's going to be the key to him, would be, breaking from the rail. He's 4-1. And, this is the type of race where you could get a 10-1 horse, and this horse could become a force down the Triple Crown road. You never know. So I did go with the first-time starters like you guys, like you, Rich. Candygram, number 8. He's out Candy Ride. He could be the speed here also. 13% Centennial Farms, James Dawkins, Castellano. They've had some good horses throughout the years. And, has some good breezes at Palm Meadows. We got 5 Bailout. Shug's not too well known for throwing out first-time starters to win. But this one looks like he's could be cranked up. I mean, he has the last 2 workouts were bullets at Payson. And, 49-1, like you can see, 15-1. So, the hidden reserve, that's a good dam. I remember her running. And, Jose Ortiz gets the mount, but it could be a prep for a 2-turn race. You never know. But this one could be ready. The odds will show. Phipps still is there. Ruler the Nile, I put in my 5th spot because I don't see those workouts. Then it doesn't light me up. But we got Dawn Pletcher. They have a strong last workout, 49-1. But $1 million, but you never know, these horses, they could not run to their price. But this one, Pletcher, could have him ready, so I'll throw him in too. I'll go 1, 8, 5, 7. One more horse I want to add also was a 4 horse like you, Rich. Zap Daddy. It has strong breeze at Palm Meadows, and Garfield and Michael Maker. This horse could also pop first time out too. So here we go. 5 deep. 1, 8, 5, 7, and 4. Joe, back to you.
Yeah, something. I think maybe we can do a whole hour just on this race.
Definitely.
Give back to me.
Ray, Ray, it's funny. I ended up on King Zachary, and you mentioned Dale Romans, and Dale Romans, like having formulated that allows me to look up. It's like, okay, over the last 2 years with first-time starters, he's won 12%. With second-time starters, that's up to 18%. So obviously, that's a good sign for this horse. And the other thing I liked about, like you mentioned, the horse was in the 9-hole, and he was 5 wide around the turn, and he didn't lose any ground. So obviously, he had to run a lot faster than the horses inside of him. You should see he was 2 1/4 lengths back after 2 furlongs, and 2 1/4 lengths back after 4 furlongs. So in that second turn, while he was 5 wide, he didn't lose any ground. They obviously weren't going all that fast, but I think we should also learn from last week's Sunday fiasco where I went 6 deep in a pick 4, and I didn't have the horse on the rail who really hadn't shown a lot of speed. Sean's something, and the horse ended up beating us at 35-1. So I can see King Zachary being sent from the rail. And the other thing about it is that Romans, like I said, Romans is 12% with first-time starters. This horse was only 5-1 in that race against Principe Guillerme. So I think this horse has a lot of things going in his favor. And he, draws the rail. He could get speed. I mean, he could show speed. He's a $550,000 yearling purchase, so I'm fairly certain Dale Romans isn't going to wait long for this horse to win. So I think today's the day. And like Rich was saying, I've seen $1 million purchases that I've loved, and I've seen $1 million purchases that I've been okay. I mean, could the Pletcher horse win? Yeah. Could he go off at 6-5 because he's $1 million purchase and it's Pletcher and Velasquez? Absolutely. But do I think if he goes off at 6-5, is he overbet? Absolutely. There's another horse actually I want to mention that nobody brought up, but he's got to get into the race, and that's the 13, Arc in the Dark. Kelly Breen's solid first and second time out, so that really doesn't concern me one way or the other. Actually, he's even a little bit better probably first time out. He's got more in the money finishes than he has wins with second time starters. But the Dam is a stakes winner who won 2 races in the off-going. So if there's any precipitation that lingers in the track, I think the showers are supposed to end probably at around noon. This race is supposed to go off at 1:30. Again, Gulfstream maybe 2 o'clock. But if there's any moisture in the ground and this horse happens to get in, I wouldn't want to throw this horse out at 12-1. So again, like you said, and Ray, the Keno machine will be mentioned a lot in the show tonight. So I would really probably go in order for me would be 1, 13, 7. Again, we're assuming that the 13 gets in. But the Pletcher horse, and Rich happened to mention that the Pletcher horse is working a lot better than the horse that we ended up betting last week, but ended up getting scratched at the gate. The horse's times, even at Palm Beach Downs, are a lot better than that last week's horse. So I would obviously not want to throw that horse out. But again, I think if the horse is 6-5, that's being overbet in the win pool. But it's Pletcher, it's Velasquez, and it's $1 million yearling. So the horse is going to take money. There's really no way around that. Okay, let's move on to leg 2.
I have a question. Sorry, I'm Joe.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Ray. What's up?
The 13 is not AE, right? He's in.
Yeah, he's in.
It don't say AE.
Okay. Okay. No, then that's my mistake. I would have thought they would only go 12. Because the two turf races have 16 entries. But they only have 12. Anything past 12 isn't also eligible. So I made that assumption. So
Gulfstream Park, I think they can load in like 16 in there. I've seen before.
If the 13's in the race and there's moisture in the ground, I would want that horse on my ticket.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, then it's all good. But being marooned in post 13 doesn't necessarily help the situation. Let's just put it that way. I don't want him to be 6 wide around the turn either, but at least if he's in the race and maybe there's a couple scratches, he gets into post 11, maybe okay. But again, the fact is that the Dam won 2 races in the slop, and he might be better bred for the slop than anybody else in this race. Okay, let's move on to leg 2. 4-year-olds and up. Non-winners of 3 races lifetime, available for $16,000 via claim. 16 entered, but a maximum number of 12, as we just discussed. Favorite is a lukewarm 4-1 on Jay Stone's morning line. His name, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, is Zafiro. He's owned by Drawing Away Stable, made famous by David Jacobson in New York, trained by Bobby DeBona, and ridden by Javier Castellano. And he was claimed at this level last time out on the 7th of February. Rated your Keno machine include or eliminate the newly claimed 4-year-old?
No, I have him. He's my second choice. But he looks pretty good. This race, I was looking at it. The track profile, 62% late speed type. So I wasn't too much on the speed here. I was looking for a couple of closers. Some speed, 7.5 furlongs, 1 turn. You usually get these late closers come from nowhere. So I was looking on the outside, number 11, Speedy Slew for Trombetta, Live Oak Plantation. Eddie Zai's aboard. This horse, the last 2 times he raced, 7.5 furlongs at the same level, same distance. He was sprinting before and closing a few times. Just had some tough trips. When you sprint the 5 furlongs, if you're not on the engine, a lot of times you get outrun. So I think the distance here, the a little more, another furlong and change, is going to really help him. His last two races at this level, the last one was good. He just got a run. He had the lead, and they just came to got him. He did improve. So this is his fourth race at this level, third race at this distance. Picks up Zayas, who might give him a little better, late kick. This could be his prime distance. He'll be wide. I mean, no doubt. So, and I think he might get up. Maybe enough speed here for him to get up. So I'll take him 6-1. I did like number 4 as the fifth, the Phil. Drawing away stable for me throughout the years, being an aqueduct. I mean, I've seen them dominate with David Jacobson at the claiming game. They take horses. They win first time out. They take them. They jump them. They drop them. They do whatever they got to do to win. They're like a winning machine stable for me. They might have had a little bit less success lately. But they're still there. I do like this horse. They claim they run back 3 weeks. They do that too. They run back 1 week. They do what they gotta do to win. And 3 weeks. This horse was troubled last time in the same level. He attracts Castellano, which is definitely a positive for me. And Bobby DeBone is also 19% to meet. Not too many horses, but he does do well. So he'll be on my ticket too at 4-1. Number 7, 2 is the rest. And this horse been closing 5 furlong sprints. He could relish the extra distance. And Luca Panisi, Clement, they do well together. And his last 2 races, figure wise, definitely will compete here. And those 5 furlong sprints, this horse been running hard lately at those sprints. So a little extra distance. Panisi's not a big, tough percentage guy. But 9% still he wins once in a while. So I'll take him. This horse looks good. He comes from this is his third race at this level, and as you can see first another half a length he wouldn't be in this condition because he would have won the second 2 races back. And he's been favored, heavily bet last 4 times, so he'll be on my ticket too. So I'll go a little slim here. I'll go 11, 4, and 7. Rich, what do you think about this race? You have a lot of horses here, and they've all 9 wins of 2 or 9 wins of 3. So
if you thought the first race was hard, it didn't get any better at all when we moved along to race 2. And once again, if I showed the picture to everybody so they can see my phone, this is another race where even then I have arrows going back and forth between the 2 first and the horse that I actually ended up settling on. So I'm looking through here and I ended up on. I did what Ray did. I started on the back page. So I handicapped back page first, and there's so many entries down here. It takes a while to get to that back page. So that was what Ray was showing you, is that 62% of the time that you do get the closers. 38% of the time out of 85 races, you're still getting horses that are up on the lead. But with maybe some moisture or some dampness, hopefully not enough to knock it off the turf. Maybe that softens it up for the closers. And so I thought I would take a shot here at a bit of a price horse, and I settled on one inside a Ray's top choice, thinking that the outside wouldn't matter to a deep closer like King Moro, who goes for Gustavo Delgado. And again, talking about horse trainers that are really off the radar, I don't even know about this one so far. He did hit on about 10% of his races, and he's had 258 starters last year. So you figure, 25, 26 winners last year, a fair share of turfs starters. It's got one of my favorite jockeys from down there at Gulfstream Park, and that's Emissael Jaramillo. And so if you look there, the horse has got, going, if you want to draw the line through that last race, the 7.5 furlong race, where it says lacked any response, he was 8 lengths off. Prior to that, he'd been first, third, and first. So he had 2 firsts, a third by a nose, another first, a good closer, just needs a little bit of pace to run into. And I thought I saw that in this race. So I thought maybe we'd have an opportunity to see that kind of. I think I skipped over the horse that Ray liked here as well, the two Exageres. It is a solid horse. It's a very good horse. One that does seem to disappoint a lot or eat up a lot of money and things like that. So I was skipping and going by the Luca Panici horse. And I believe my backup horse here is Uncle B with, again, another trainer who I don't really know very here, Lily Kirchinets. But Irad Ortiz is the jockey. Again, drawing a line to that last race. As far as the speed figure was concerned, everything prior to that looked okay to me. So I've got the 6 and the 8 as my top two choices here. I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring this up. The horse here was claimed from Nicholas Gonzalez. So this is first after the claim, not necessarily a strong move here for Lily. And the interesting thing that I noticed is takes the blinkers off and actually has gelded the horse since she picked it up as well. So this horse is going first time gelding as well. Kind of trying all the changes here right on that first try. So I was willing to give that a try. I've got the 6 and the 8, and I think my third choice, if I use 3 choices here, is Carlos Montalvo and Reed Nagel with GQ cover up the 1. So I went 6, 8, 1, and I'm going to hand it off to Joe, or else this show will just take forever tonight because Gulfstream Park will just kill it.
Yeah, like I said, maybe it may end up being a 2-hour show. Actually, Rich, it's funny. I ended up on the same horse as you did. I like the 6, Uncle B. And the thing about it is, like you said, you don't know the trainer that well. But if Irad Ortiz is getting on a horse that you don't know the trainer well for, what is that? Irad isn't riding for just anybody. Okay. Yeah. So Irad, it's funny, go back 2 races in the PPs. You see Castellano gets up, the horse finishes second by a neck. And not just that, the horse is running at 7.5 furlongs at post 10 and post 11 and showing a little speed. So my guess is he was probably a little wide on both of those turns in each of those starts. He gets down inside this time. Like you said, the ultimate equipment change. Now he's a gelding. The blinkers come off, so he probably relaxes maybe a little bit better, and then maybe Irad gets the horse to relax a little better. Better draw. Maybe sits a little bit further off the pace. At 8-1, Irad Ortiz. I could train the horse if the horse was 8-1 with Irad Ortiz. I'd probably bet it. So that's how I ended up on Uncle B. Like I said, I think I can excuse the last 2. But the last 2 even were improvements, and those are the first 2 at this level. And the horse can obviously 2 back showed that it can compete at this level. So I went with the 6 as my top choice. I'm going to go with a horse that wasn't mentioned here, and again I'm going to go back to last week's show. Well, actually we didn't do a show, but our discussion when we put together our own ticket on Sunday is I'm going to the 5 Real Creel. It's that man Tyler Gaffalione. And it's the same angle as Darn That Parker. The horse showed speed last time at Tampa for a lesser named jockey. Bracho's been riding okay at Tampa. Blinkers come off. Gaffalione gets on. So I'm thinking maybe not. So, I thought the horse would show more speed last week on Sunday's show. So maybe I'm thinking, well, they took the blinkers off. Gaffalione's going to get the horse to relax a little bit. Again, drawn down inside. The horse was drawn in post 10 last time out. Set a huge lead in his first race since October 28th. So I'm thinking maybe this horse is going to get a little bit better. Again, drawn inside, better jockey, better circumstances. Maybe this is the one who gets up. And Rich is obviously highlighting that blinkers off at 33%. Obviously a small sample size. But I think this horse has a shot coming over from Tampa to make some hay on the big track. Again, we're talking non-winners of 3 claimers. So just about anything is liable to happen. And the other horse I ended up on was the 2, Arch Villain. And a lot of the same things we talked about with the Gaffalione horse could happen with this horse. Showed speed last time out at Gulfstream Park West, which obviously is what used to be Calder for, I'm assuming, Angel Jimenez. Nick Juarez gets aboard. Maybe this horse relaxes a little bit. Maybe this is the horse that, or either that, or considering that this horse has not lost at this level, the horse has never been down for 16K and has never been in restricted claimers, was in restricted allowance race a while back. But the drop-in class and the change in jockey to Nick Juarez, again, 6-1. So obviously there's a lot of horses, it seems like, clump between 4 and 6 and 8-1. So again, Jay Stone obviously thinks this race is pretty wide open too. So I went 3 deep and I tried to stay away from the outside posts. because it's funny because I'm reading a book by Mike Maloney. It's called Betting with an Edge, and it kind of intimates that he thinks, and obviously he's a pretty good horse player. It intimates that he thinks cheap horses get beat by bad post positions, and we're talking again 16,000 non-winners of 3. So I basically kind of I rarely even look at something past post 9, especially at 7 furlongs on this turf course because that is so close to the first turn that you're almost bound to be wide regardless of what style you employ unless you take back. So I went 6-5-2 in leg 2 of the pick 4. Now we go to the day's feature event, leg 3 of our sequence, which is named after Hal's Hope, who was the 2000 Holy Bull and 2000 Florida Derby winner. And he actually even returned 2 years later in the 10 furlong Gulfstream Park Handicap, grade 1 in 2002. And he won the race off a 623-day layoff, which is almost unheard of. Again, winning a grade 1 at 10 furlongs off of more than a year layoff is pretty astounding. The favorite for this race, morning line favorite, is the Holy Bull winner from last year, who also won the Wood Memorial, Irish War Cry. Excuse me. He's late at 5-2 on the morning line. In this Grand Motion train, he was last seen eating West Coast dust, running 8th of 10 in the Pennsylvania Derby. Today he gets Jose Ortiz, the 2018 Eclipse award-winning rider. So, Rich, does he rebound and return to the winner's circle, or do his older rivals prove too tough for him today?
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if he'll go off as the favorite. I know that right now that's where he is at the morning line. He's got a tough post position down there on 1, and the other thing is there are not 1 but 2 Todd Pletcher horses in this race, and I suspect that one of them could end up going off as the favorite in this race. They are the number 2. I think one's called Malagasy. The 6 is Malagasy, and the 8 is called Send It In. I'm going to go ahead and put my check mark here next to Send It In with Todd Pletcher and John Velasquez. The magical combination hitting 24% together. Horse ran around on the little inside track there, the little dot track at Aqueduct, right? The weatherized one.
The one that doesn't exist anymore.
The one that doesn't exist
anymore. The one that's
anymore.
now a turf course.
As you see there, very successful horse. Does it? Always kind of puts up a good effort. This is one of those horses you never see, a 5th by 9 length on. So it's coming off a long way off of 10 months. Again, with Todd Pletcher, that's not something that generally concerns me, especially when I see if the horse has been working out consistently as this horse has. So I see consistent workouts. I actually see a couple of bullets back in the workout. So I'm assuming that Send It In is back to himself. I see this name up here, and I've heard this name on this show now for a couple of years. If I were to say it to you, I saw it when I was handicapping a little bit earlier on my tablet, and so I figured I wasn't going to miss it this time, and I went ahead and put my check on it. Send it in. I'm not going to split Pletchers because I don't split Bafferts. I don't split Brad Browns. And so I just used the 6 and the 8. And Joe, right now at this point in time, because I've got so many in my other legs of these, something like that, I might have to leave the 1 off at this point in time and think that Pletcher's got this race covered the way that Baffert sometimes, the way Chad Brown sometimes has the race covered. I'm going to go ahead and just stick with the 6 and the 8 at this point in time. If I have room, if for some reason I pare it down, and I don't pare down the winner and one of the other legs, I might see if I can add back the 1. Ray, who do you like in the Hal's Hope?
You have some good horses here, a couple of them from last year. And they're all off layoffs. And, I'm looking for a little recency here. And, I did see last year the Triple Crown Trail, Malagasy. He ran pretty well. He was a force early in the sprinting, and then it stretched him out. And Arkansas Derby, he was just faded a little bit. I saw that race, and they put him off the shelf after that. I do like Malagasy because he did come back in January. Nice sprint race. They wasn't prepping to win that race. 3-5, it happened. You got to take it as a horse player. You get beat 3-5. But that was a good race for him to come back to this race. and he's here now. So I'm gonna go with him with my top choice. Maybe he could get his old 3-year-old magic, and whatever happened to him, I don't remember, don't recall. But he's been out for a while, but now he's back in training, and he had a good sprint prep, and he should do very well here at a 1 turn mile. I do like sending in. I do know the racing manager, Paul Pompa Jr., and not like he give me tips, but he just gives me ideas and what they're gonna do. I didn't speak to him, but I know this horse is he's a very good horse. He's a hard knocking horse. He always comes up, performs. Off the layoff, he'll give you a run. And the 1 mile may be a little short for him, but he's more mile and eight, mile and a quarter one last time to Excelsior. I'm sorry, but he'll give you a race, and he'll be definitely viable on the ticket, even off the layoff. He's 9 for 17, 15 for 17 on the money. So he's one of those horses who will give you a good check, and that's why they love him. And Pletcher, Velasquez, so say more, not more. 6 and 8 for me. I do if we have room a little bit. Number 2 economic model. He's a 1 turn model. But he's coming off the layoff. We probably won't have room because we're so deep in the other races. But don't say no. I know.
Not a chance. No way.
5-2, you can have him. If he wins wider field, go ahead, so be it. But he may not be ready, and he might be. I don't know, but he not a good value for me. So I'll go to 2 Pletchers. Let's do it like that. Joe, back to you.
Well, I'm telling you, we have no room on this horse. On this ticket. We're like 12 deep in race 1 and like 18 deep in race 2, and there's only like 16 horses. So, so unless we get to the 1,000 budget, we're not going to get any other horses in this race.
You may talk about singing this race.
It's funny. I get this feeling. I wonder where we are with Irish War Cry. It's funny because Ray, you mentioned Malagasy being that he wasn't really ready to win that race. And if this race were shorter, 7 furlongs or 6 furlongs, I'd be in that same boat here. I'd be like, oh, yeah, no, Irish War Cry has no business winning at 6 furlongs. He's not going to be. There's no way. It's not going to happen. And even though he did it when he was younger, I would know. I would say, no, there's no way. But it's a little bit longer, and he's a little scary. But part of my problem with Irish War Cry is we don't know. Here is honestly, in this race, I looked at this race and I was like, if there's a spot where they should be sending this horse, if Jose Ortiz isn't quarter horsing this horse out of the gate, there's a problem. Either he can't or he won't. He doesn't want to go fast enough early. I can't rely on him at 5-2. He's so in and out. And it's funny. I read an article about this race. And Graham Motion said, yeah, he ran his best race of his life over this track. Now, of course, he followed it up with the worst race of his life over the same racetrack in the Fountain of Youth, a month later. So I can't rely on him. So I'm going to go off the board here and take a horse that neither of you guys mentioned. I mean, I like sending it in as my second choice. I'm not worried about Pletcher layoff horses. His first timers usually win pretty well. His first timers win well. His layoff horses win well. I'm not worried about that horse. But the horse I'm going to go with is the 3, Conquest Big E, because I see he didn't show a lot of speed in the Hooper last time out, but of all the horses in the race, he's the most reliable to me to be close to the pace. If he's not on the front end, he's going to be close to the front end. And if Irish War Cry is not ready, my guess is Conquest Big E takes over on the turn. If Irish War Cry doesn't go, Conquest Big E might go, and he might just go straight to the winner's circle, wire to wire, up the rail with no issues. And again, this is an angle I'm obviously seeing a lot more of, and I'm liking a lot more of. Donna Hertak. I mean, I know the name Hertak is royalty in South Florida racing, but she obviously, 38 horses over the last 2 years. How often do you think you're going to get Luis Saez, who has 95 wins, to ride a horse for that barn? Probably not that often. The guy's lights out right now. It's an improvement over Batista, and again, I'm going to take 8-1 over the 5-2 at Irish War Cry, and the fact that he's the more reliable speed horse to me. So it'd be 3 and the 8 for me. I understand Malagasy's obviously got a right to improve off that first start. but he's not the only one that can win this race. Ray mentioned economic model. Tower of Texas is bred pretty well for the dirt. If you look, Street Sense out of a Danzig Connection mare, and if Ray remembers, Danzig Connection winning the Belmont in the slop. This horse might move up on a wet track if he actually stays in the race. So this race is a tough race. It's 8. I can easily see 6 of the 8 winning the race without much of a problem. So the fact that we're only going to go 2 deep just shows you how hard this sequence is. If we weren't so deep in every other leg, yeah, I could see Ray putting an economic model and putting in Conquest Big E, but we're going to be strapped for cash. So my guess is we'll probably end up only 2 deep because Rich liked Send It In and Malagasy not splitting the Pletchers. And Ray went the same 2 horses, but in a different order. He liked the 6 Malagasy over the 8 Send It In. And I went with Conquest Big E as my top choice. And again, Send It In is also on my ticket. So let's move on to the finale. Similar to race 10 as it's restricted to 3-year-old maidens, but this will be contested at 8 furlongs on the grass for a purse of $50K. Again, 16 have entered, but only 12 can go. And obviously, morning line maker Jay Stone thinks it's a grab bag, as again, the morning line favorite is a lukewarm 4-1. Vegas Kitten is owned and bred by, you guessed it, Ken and Sarah Ramsey, and is trained by Chad Brown and ridden by Jose Ortiz. So with those connections, I think 4-1 seems a bit generous. And traditionally, Ray uses the Keno machine in races like this. So Ray, does the trend continue?
Well, it's one of those races too, yeah. But us, being deal beforehand, we have to slim down and have to really, make a stand somehow. I mean, just to let you know, I'm 4 deep. So we'll start number 2, the Green Moister. Dale Romans, put this horse on the turf and not too successful in the dirt races. I mean, a decent 4th. I mean, wasn't such bad a race. The speed figures did come out pretty well, 86, 82. So par for this race is 83. So, it does fit well. Lewis Size, like you said, lights out. He picks up the mount. First time turf. Uncle Mo's running 19% first time turf. So I'll definitely give this horse a chance to improve on the turf. And a few nice workouts on the dirt, but it shows that the horse might be improving. So that 5-1, that'll be my top choice, number 2, the Green Monster. I do like number 9, Vegas Kitten, Ramsey, Chad Brown, first time starter, then the grass. This horse could be anything. It could be, you could be looking at this horse in what's that turf race in Kentucky? I think Derby week, I think, whatever. But this was pretty,
there are a couple ones, but I can't remember them off the top of my head.
Yeah. But anyway, this horse been working out at Palm Meadows, good workouts, and 1 mile first time out could be a little tough to manage, but this horse could get there, or at least be close. So this horse is viable on my ticket also. I do like number 6, Zephan. We got the Stronach stables here. Josie Cow, I'm sorry. Coming in from Woodbine, raced in December on a synthetic. Showed speed, gave way like it says. So this horse goes to the turf. The size 14% on first time turf. Solid name. Remember Sunday Silence? So that was a good dirt horse, but so. But this horse could definitely improve with working out on the turf. So that shows me that they're looking to grass this horse. And 8-1, Castellano jumps aboard, and that's a good sign. This horse could wire the field very simply. The stats show that 42% speed bias for the EP type, so it's about half and half. Number 4, Determinant. The Determinant for Oxley, Mark Cassie. First time out, didn't show much, but for me, it did show a little bit of improvement. Did probably just pass tired horses. Says 2 wide, 4 wide, 8x6. So it's a little bit in the race. I mean, 6 lengths ain't too bad. Definitely ought to tap it. $550 purchase, and should improve second time out. A 10-1, I'll take those odds too. So that's why I'll go with the 2, the 9, 6, and the 4 in the finale. If we have room. Just making suggestions here. All right, Rich. What do you think about this 1 mile turf race? The grass. Wide open.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I've played just about every single late pick four on the weekends so far of the championship meet. Like if I pull up the days we show you guys in my Twin Spires account to prove it. I think this might be the most difficult pick four card, at least on the surface, before it gets run, that I've seen so far. I mean, and this last race just topped off how difficult it was. I mean, we left a couple of horses on that last race. Ray, you were kind of embarrassing saying that you had gone 4 deep. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went 8 deep, and after I went 8 deep, I noticed that I missed out on the horse I might bet, which is Golden Challenge. The Ralph Nix, John Velasquez, $125,000 Medaglia de Oro on the top, half on the bottom horse. So that just goes to show you how tough this horse is, the race is. So I do have the 6 as my top pick. I'll let you guys know that one. These Gulfstream Park turf races, they do tend to be a little bit tricky. And the one thing I do notice is I don't see a whole lot of them that go to first-time starters. That go to bomb picks, it seems like to me, as first-time starters. It seems like you usually get somebody who's got at least a little bit of experience. Now, sometimes the experienced horses are bombs themselves. But in this case, I was looking for somebody who had at least a little bit of experience. Ray kind of let the cat out of the bag. Yeah, you get 42% of the time that these races go to horses who were kind of, early lead types. Josie Carroll can train, bring him in from Woodbine on the poly track, which, Joe, you and I were having that discussion last time we were at the track, the similarity between the poly track and the turf course. Mm-hmm. So he's got experience. You see he goes from Luis Contreras. That's really one of the top 2, maybe top 3 jockeys that's existing at Woodbine. And lo and behold, look who he picks up coming down here to Gulfstream Park. Yeah, Mr. Golf or Mr. Eclipse Award, Javier Castellano, a few years ago. And again, Carroll and him, solid combination. So I went ahead and put the 6 on my top line here. Although it was anything but a solid 6 on top. So I backed it up with, the Ramseys and Chad Brown. You've got a solid ownership crew. You've got Ken and Sarah Ramsey, breeder, owner, by Kitten's Joy, Chad 15% with first-time starters. As you would expect with Chad Brown, the works are not flashy, but they are consistent and regular. So you would imagine that the horse is ready, and it would be foolish to leave out Chad Brown's horse. At least for me, I would want to leave out Chad Brown horse at this point in time. So I've got 6. I've got 9. Let's see. Even though I hate horses that have this outside post because I was looking for people who have experience and who have raced before, I actually have the 12 on here. Drawing the line to that last Gulfstream Park one because that's not on the turf, that's on the dirt. And going with the turf choices before that. So I've got 6, I've got 9, I've got 12. I'm going to stop putting in what I've got here because I guess at that point in time, I would go down to the next line, which is, and Ray, I didn't want to say it, but the Green Moster. You might remember this. We actually bet, or this horse was in the initial race. This is the Lights of Parlay. This horse was in this first. We were in that first race. So on a pick 4 bet together. I've been betting this horse both races. So both races that he's been in, he's had nice prices and things like that. Just has not. And so you know what happens, right? For a gambler, you get that bad taste in your mouth. Sometimes you want to be there to cash in when that horse does eventually come across the finish line. And sometimes you're just a little bit skeptical. So I haven't seen anything that made me see, this horse was spectacular, other than the 19% first-time turf for Uncle Mo. But I left him off at this point. I mean, he would be on my B line. Again, I went 7 deep. And the one horse that I did want to bring up at the very end was Golden Challenge. He is owned and trained by Ralph Nix. And again, the sire is Medaglia de Oro. On the bottom side, that's a Tapit mare. The sale price was $425,000. The Medaglia de Oro, they're 11% with the first-time turf, but he's a sensational turf sire. So that number sometimes seems like it might be a little bit misleading to me. And as you see that Ralph Nix hits 20% with his first-time starters on a sample size of 200 horses. So, and he draws John Velasquez there for the last race on a first-time starter. I'm actually going to have the 5 on my ticket. So I actually promoted that horse at the very last to be all the way up on my ticket. But I went 6, 9, 12, trying to use the horses that have experience, and I'll put the 5 at the very outside of it for myself. I could have talked for like 10 more minutes on this one race, you know that, Jeff? But I will hand it off to you at this point in time to finish it off for me.
Great. Let's put this way. We're gonna end up. We should probably just end up going through the entire field, because I have 3 horses that nobody mentioned. So here we go.
There we go.
And what's funny is, and Rich, I tend to agree with you on that it's more likely to be somebody who's somebody with experience, because generally just experienced horses have the edge over non-experienced horses. But like I said, the fact that I can look at Formulator and I can see a lot of the dams and what their siblings have, what their offspring have done, that's kind of why it leads me to horses that generally not necessarily are going to be the morning line favorite, or the horses that, you know, with the fancy human connections like Chad Brown and the Ramseys. So I went with, it's funny, I went with the 7, the horse you have on the screen right now at Rhode Island. Joseph Allen is the owner and the breeder, and he actually bred, and he actually raced the mare, the dam, Baroness Richter, who is the son of Montjou, who was a champion in Europe. I'm not sure. I think he won the ARC. I'm not sure if it once or maybe twice, but I think he did win at least once. But based on the dam was a debut winner at 8 furlongs in the UK at one of the lower tracks. I think Chepstow is the name of the track, but she beat 10 horses at 25-1. She ended up winning a listed stake in France, and 3 of her foals are winners in Europe. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to go through and look to see what kind of races they won in Europe, but at least I know that she's sired some winners. And as you can see, Rich has the PPs up, and it says the dam is a stakes winner. 4 turf, 4 starters, 4 winners, and 2 stake winners. So I'm going to take a chance that this horse has some ability. Like Ray mentioned, Shug McGahee is not necessarily a big time first time out trainer, and he isn't. His percentage is like 6%, but the ROI over the last 2 years with that 6% is 196. So basically, he almost beats the takeout just by betting his first time starters blindly, even though they only win 6% of the time. So generally, you know that they're not bet. So in this case, this horse is probably 6-1. Gaff Leone, since he's not one of the Ortiz brothers, he's not Castellano, he's not Velasquez, he's going to be a little bit further down the chain, 6-1. I'm thinking you might get more than that, even though the breeding is excellent. I mean, obviously, Giants Causeway. It's funny when I looked at his PPs too. He was 9 for 12 lifetime with 3 seconds, and he lost to Tiz now on the dirt in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So obviously, his impact as a sire has been known in the United States for a while. So I'm going to take the shot that Rhode Island's going to get there, and I think you may get more than 6-1. You might get closer to 10, only because again, Gaff Leone's lower down the rung, and McGahee's not necessarily known as a big time first time out trainer. 2 of the other horses I went to were also lower end connections. If you guys remember Heart to Heart, the connections for Heart to Heart are Brian Lynch and Julian Leproux. So I looked up the number 3 horse, Snaphook, and just like Lynch isn't much better with first timers than with second timers, his win percentage is about the same. His ROI seems to be much better with first timers. And one of the foals of the dam, Tee Off, it's funny, all of the foals are named, we have golf names somehow. But this horse, one of the foals for this horse is a horse you guys might remember, 5 Iron, who was a winner of 340,000 on the turf with a top buyer speed figure of 102. So I'm taking the chance that there's Brian Lynch. Leproux is as good on the dirt as he is on turf. And some people would probably say he's better, more patient on the turf. Again, this horse, I can't see the odds, Rich. Is that 12-1 on the morning line?
I got 20.
20. Okay. See, even better. So I'm thinking, obviously somebody's going to finish last. But like you say, Rich, this race is so wide open, and it's 4 to, the morning line favorite is 4 to 1. I'm more likely to take a horse that's 20 to 1 than somebody who's 4 to 1. And I still don't think. I think there's no way Vegas Kitten's going off at 4 to 1. I'm thinking if you get half that, you'll be lucky. But the other horse I mentioned, actually, Ray did mention the other horse I was on, and that's Determinant for Mark Casse. He's as good first time as he is second time. ROI is about the same. But the dam was 7 for 23 lifetime, and she actually won the Grade 3 Cardinal at Louisville. Her foals haven't done very much yet. This is obviously one, and the other one was only 0 for 1, so it's only 0 for 2 lifetime. But second time out, and I like the fact that the horse finished up. You see that late pace figure of 88, which is above the par for the level. The horse finished up really well. Look, if you look, that last quarter was less than 24 seconds. The horse finished up really well, despite the fact that he was well back and didn't necessarily look. I think the race is a little bit better than looked based on the figure. And again, inside draw, loses Jose Ortiz. I can understand that, but Robbie Alvarado is not a slouch by any means. He's very experienced. And again, you're going to get 10 to 1 for Mark Casse. He's 22% at the meet, so I can't really knock that either. So you can go a lot of ways in this race. I went 3, 4, 7. Let me see. I kind of tried to keep track. So I think Rich went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. No, actually, I'm sorry. I should rephrase that. Rich went 6, 9, 12 with the 5, and Ray went 2, 9, 6, and 4 in the finale. So when we get this ticket together, this is going to be fun. I'm not sure how we're going to keep it under 100, but I guess we're going to have to try. So, Rich, I'm not sure if you have the template ready with our picks, or if you want me to just talk for a little bit more while you get the template together. Just to let everybody know, I guess next week we'll be doing Gulfstream Park as well. They have 8 graded stakes and 9 stakes total, including the feature, which is the Fountain of Youth, which is the return to the races of the Breeders' Cup juvenile winner and Eclipse Award winner, Eclipse Award winning juvenile, Good Magic for Chad Brown. So obviously there'll be a lot of stakes, and I was wondering if any of you guys wanted to do a 2-hour show next week to cover all that stuff. I mean, really, 9 stakes is just insane. I can't. I mean, it's like I wish they drew 2 days earlier. My job is just getting in the way of my handicapping. Can't understand it, but anyway, this really was. I mean, I don't know, Ray. I would assume you found this to be a difficult sequence as well.
Very difficult. Yeah. Very difficult.
Scale of 1 to 10. What was it? A 12?
Man.
I mean, it's. I wish there was a way we could single in the Hell's Hope, but God, it just became so difficult, and
like you said, we said we'll get down to 2 in the Hell's Hope.
We might have to.
Yeah, right. We'll probably. I would assume we're only going to end up using 2, because I mean, if we go 3 deep, or we're increasing the ticket by 50%. I mean, like I said, I'd love to use Conquest Big E, but I mean, I think just wisely we should probably just use the 2 Pletchers and move on, and hope against hope that we don't learn the lesson that we learned from Wakila and let Chad Brown beat us again.
Good Magic next week.
No, I'm not worried about Good Magic. I'm worried about economic model this week with Chad Brown. I'm not worried about Good Magic next week. Okay. Heck, man, I don't even know if I'm going to live to next week. I'm just worried about what.
We didn't have Good Magic, right? I don't think we did. No.
I
did.
Well, I know I didn't have him. I actually had him when he ran in the Champagne to finish second behind Freeze and Fire.
We were on the boat train.
I bet him that day.
Derailed from the boat train.
That was the day that Rich and I were at our local Indian casino. I remember betting on I remember betting Good Magic that day as a maiden against Freeze and Fire when they went like 109 and change in the Champagne.
It is a fantasy. Next week we'll be doing the show live from Gulfstream Park, all 3 of us.
not
if we hit this
not
pick,
If it's four, we will be.
I'll say this: not if we want to stay married.
True.
If we want to stay married, no. If we don't care, well,
we'll be there headless.
then what good is it? What good is it being there if I don't have my head?
The headless handicappers.
I can't wear my fedora if I don't have my head. All right, so Rich is putting together the ticket for us. So obviously we're trying to stall here while he's doing it. Normally he's as host, he's usually keeping track of this. But we'll give him a little time today, considering that.
Looks nice.
Like I said, this was the Freaky Friday show. So if you like it, great, leave comments. If you didn't like it, great, leave comments. We don't care. We just want to hear from you if you're watching. We just hope you enjoy it. And we hope you guys have as much fun watching as we have doing it. It's 10:02. Do you know where your children are?
A lot of numbers there. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny. I thought. So Ray, did you tell Rich where he could buy his own Keno machine?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know.
This week we need numbers from 1 to 16, right?
Yes.
1 to 14.
That's right. I want to.
The two main what makes it difficult is two maiden races where there's not a lot of horses who've run before.
Yeah.
And it's like you're seeing all the numbers on the Brisnet PPs or the DRF, and you're like, oh my God, what am I gonna do with it? And you see 20%, and you're like, oh yeah, great. And then you see another horse, 20% there, yeah, oh great. And then it's like you got 6 horses that have 20% chances of winning. Like, well, okay, that's fantastic, but you also got 100% chance of draining your wallet.
Yeah.
11-6. Oh my God, 11-6.
So the 11, the 6, and the 10. Those are the three top picks for the three of us, right? We each one of us got our top pick there. And the 7 is me and Ray had a consensus on. So for right now,
right, that's fine.
4x4. It doesn't look too bad. It's 4x4.
Yeah, 4x4.
Yeah, but look at the last race.
Sorry, too.
Look at the last race. We got at least 3 consensus and 2 other top picks, so we'd have 5 in there. So we got 4x4 by 2x5. That's $80. I think 4x4 is 16. 2x5 is 10. 16 times 10 is 160. Cut in half is 80. Or actually, just.
Well, I'll tell you one thing is,
4 by 4 by 5.
No way this pick 4 will pay under $100.
Yeah, no. Yeah, on the weekends it goes and that doesn't happen.
You don't even have one horse in here.
You're right. But let's put it this way. Let me say that. Let me just. If one of the 2 Pletcher horses win, if Vegas Kitten wins because you got Ramsey and Chad Brown,
you'll get
those 2 might be kind of short. But the other 2 legs, it's going to be tough just to get through those 2 legs, just to get to that point. Because you got I guess the other horse is Ruler of the Nile. If Ruler of the Nile wins,
right,
he's probably he might be 9. He might be 8, 9 to 5. Heck, he may be 6 to 5 by the time they go off. So I'm gonna say it's possible that it pays under $100 for a 50-cent increment. It's possible. If those 3 things happen, then but still, even in leg 2, if you get anybody who pays 6 to 8 to 1, you're probably going to be over 100.
That would be 40 right there, right? 4 times.
No, that's 80. 4 by 4 by 5.
I'm sorry.
That's 80.
80.
Okay, so in the first leg, I think I got all 3 of our top choices, right? You guys were both on the 1, and I was on the 4. So that's how that one got there.
And there's consensus on the 4.
And the 7.
Consensus on the 5. Consensus on the 6. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Second leg, again, all three of the top picks, the 11, the 6, and the 10. And it looks like we just got consensus there on the 7. Third leg, we already talked about this. We're just going with the top 2 the Fletcher horses, the 6 and the 8.
Right.
And that last leg. So 2, 7, and 6 are the 3 top picks for each of us. And then the 9 has consensus, and the 4 has consensus.
Wow. Adorable.
I'm fine with an $80 check. I don't have a problem with
yeah, man, it's what, 26.
But this
it's a total sequence.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, the right numbers. This could pay 1,000. Pay more than 1,000. Play more than 1,000.
That's better than what I have on my notepad. So I have to, and I can't do anything. So I got to try to get down underneath what I have.
There you go.
Don't kill me. Don't kill me. But this reminds me of 2014 Breeders' Cup. The big people.
So why would we kill you?
No,
first of all, we're 3,000 miles away from you. We can't kill you. At least not ourselves. We could get somebody. I can find somebody to kill you, but I can't. The one that
paid $9,000 that we should have had, but this could be one of those. Yeah, it's very possible.
Well, again, the one thing that will keep it down would be the 2. I mean, because obviously we're only going to have the 2 Pletcher horses, so it's going to be minimized regardless.
Right.
And I mean, the one thing is, even with this ticket, you won't lose money.
Right. Yeah.
It would be, like I said, unless Pletcher's horse gets absolutely hammered at the windows, opens 1 to 5, goes off even money, and then everybody. Yeah. No, it doesn't matter if the horse wins by 10. It's the question: how much money is everybody? Because if I'm a handicapper and I'm saying, you know what, I think we can toss this horse. I'd rather bet against them at even money. But then you see him at money, it's like your pick 4. It'd be like, yeah, but you got to be stupid to throw him out of your pick 4, don't you?
Yeah.
So a lot of people might end up throwing. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And here's the other thing. It's like what I would do if I liked the 7 that much is I would do a ticket like ours, and then I would do another smaller ticket with him just singled with every combination I liked in the other races. Figuring, okay, I'm going to single him and go deep in every other race and hope all long shots come in after that.
Yeah.
It's again, I'm glad I picked this week to host. I guess it's a tough sequence, and to be honest, like we said, we could have talked probably for a half an hour each just the 2 maiden legs, legs 1 and leg 4. Anyway, so that's our ticket: 1, 4, 5, and 7 in leg 1, 6, 7, 10, and 11 in leg 2. The $16,000 claiming race on the turf. We're going with the 2 Pletchers, Malagasy and Send It In the Hell's Hope, and Hodgepodge or Keno Machine, whatever, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9 in leg 4 of the pick 4 tomorrow, February 24th, 2018 at Gulfstream Park. So thank you everybody for sticking with us and for watching. We went a little long tonight, but again, the pick 4 was a tough sequence, and it warranted that we discuss it a little bit further. Guys, it was fun. As Rich always likes to say, it's a joy handicapping with you two. And like I said, I hope everybody who watches has as much fun watching it as we do making the show.
Hey man, this is a blast. I like being over here.
Well, we'll have to do this again sometime. So let's just wrap up tonight's festivities. And thank you for watching. And on behalf of 3 Broke Guys, Rich, Ray, and myself, good luck in all your wagers, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, everybody.
Good night.